Hello and welcome to episode 4 of our DevOps project series. Today we'll be looking at Jenkins. We'll be setting up a Jenkins server on an AWS EC2 instance. We'll then integrate it with GitHub and Gmail. We'll also create a Jenkins job and see how we can, trigger a build via a push from GitHub. So just to refresh our memory, we've been working through the various DevOps tools. In past videos, we've looked at Jira, Git, Gradle, Selenium. So today we'll be looking at Jenkins. Remember that at the end of this series, the last video would comprise of a full DevOps project, which utilizes all these tools that we've touched in this series. So now, what is Jenkins? Jenkins is an open source CICD server that helps automate various stages in software development and DevOps processes. So basically, Jenkins is used in teams where, the DevOps approach is heavily, adopted. It enables you to run your builds, your various stages in your build, whether it's testing, whether it's staging, whether it's push to production, whether it's quality assurance, or you're trying to do qualitative analysis. Your Jenkins server can enable you to do that because the plugins in Jenkins enables it to work with various third-party tools. So today, what you're looking at on the screen is an image or a visual representation of what we'll be doing today. Like I said, we're going to be creating a Jenkins server on AWS, and then it's going to integrate with GitHub and also Gmail. We'll be creating a job that whenever every stage is completed, it sends a notification to Gmail. Okay, so now what is the aim of this video? This video basically aims to show us how to install Jenkins on an AWS EC2 instance, how to set up Jenkins, how to integrate GitHub and Gmail with Jenkins, how to initiate a build for a Jenkins job after a GitHub commit or push. So, most of the time, why I say GitHub commit or push is, most of the time in production environments, although you do a GitHub commit, it might not really be pushed to main because it needs a pull request to be approved before it moves to main. So most of the time in production, it is after the push to main before it will then trigger. Then the next thing we'll be looking at is how to send email notifications for each build stages. All right. So let us get right into it. We'll start by creating an EC2 instance on AWS and then kick off from there. All right, so this is the AWS portal. If you're watching this video and you don't have an AWS account, you don't have to worry. AWS, when you sign up for AWS at first, you have the ability to use some free tier resources for a specific period of time. So even in this video, the EC2 instance that I'm going to create is going to be free tier eligible. So all you have to do is start by creating an account, on AWS. The link to create an AWS account is provided in the comment section. So click the link and then just go through the process of creating your account. You don't need to worry about cost at the moment because you'll be eligible to use the free tier services. So now I'm clicking on EC2 and I want to launch an instance. So I click that. I'm creating a Jenkins server, so I'll just call it that. I'm going to be using Ubuntu today, and I'll use the T2 Micro because it's free tier eligible, okay? Then key pair. For the users that have never used AWS before, you can just click on create a new key pair, and then you give it a name. This key pair will then be downloaded to your system. But because I already use AWS, I have, like 2 key pairs, so I'm going to select one of them. Next thing is to edit the network settings. I'm just going to leave the default VPC, and I'll leave this subnet, and then I'm going to enable public IP. It's important you enable it because by default it is disabled. The next thing is to select a security group or create one. I already have one existing, so I'll select the existing security group. So this is this one. I'm just going to show you what the security group comprises of. I'm clicking on compare security group. So what is important for this tutorial is that you open port 8080 because that's what the Jenkins server is going to work on. You also open port 80 and 443, and you also open port 22, that's SSH. You necessarily don't have to open any other ports because I was using the all these other ports here, like 9000, 3389, for a different test entirely. But for this one, you can open 8080, 22, very important, 443, and 80. So now I'm going to select the security group, scroll down. I'm going to change this to 30 gig. Hello viewers, my name is Kachi. This is a short break just to urge and ask you to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. This channel is used to bring educative videos that are relevant in the information technology world. We bring videos on web development, cloud computing, DevOps, and even artificial intelligence, AI. But the videos are not just limited to that. We also provide videos as they are relevant to the community. We ask that you support us through your likes and subscription. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you as part of our subscribers. Now, let's get back to business. So the last thing that we'll do before we create the EC2 instance is to add the installation file for Jenkins. So what I'm just going to do is go to this repository here and take this command and put it here. Okay, so this is basically going to automatically install Jenkins for us on this Ubuntu machine. So now I'll click Launch Instance. Okay, click on the instance here. So the instance state is currently pending. I'm just going to click on it while I wait for it to run. Okay, let's give it some time. Let's give it some time. Okay, so it's running now. So just click on Connect, SSH client, then copy this command. Now the next thing, open your command prompt. Okay. Then go into the folder that contains the key pair that you downloaded during the creation of the EC2 instance. So mine is in my downloads folder. So I'm going to go in there. All right. Copy that or paste that and write yes. Okay. So now I'm inside my Ubuntu machine. Okay. So now let's go to the portal. Instances, that's this one. So this is the public IP of this instance, right? So copy it, come over, open a different browser, and paste 8080. Okay, so we're just gonna let this, get ready while we do other things. All right. So now the next thing that we're going to do, remember, what we've done so far is just create an EC2 instance, install Jenkins on it, and then we've also come to our browser and started Jenkins. So now the next thing we want to do while we wait for that is to generate a password for your Gmail. So during the Jenkins integration, you need to put your email address and password. And for you to do that, you're not going to use your normal Gmail password. You're going to use something called an app password. And I will show you how to do that. Just go to myaccount.google.com. Then you click on security. Scroll down. You see how to sign into Google. click on two-step verification. You have to enter your password. Next. Okay, so now if you scroll down, you see app passwords. So just click on it and then create one. So I can just give this GitHub to Jenkins. Okay, and then click create. So it gives you, a token for you to use. So just copy this and save this somewhere because we're going to use it when we sign into Jenkins now. All right. So I've copied this for myself. And I'll say done. So next thing, let's go back to the Jenkins page. So this is now the Jenkins page. You are required to provide a password to sign in. And I'm going to show you how to get that password. But first, let me paste what I just copied. Let me paste that somewhere. I already have one. All right. So I've pasted that somewhere. You should do the same also. Copy this, then go to your command line, and you're not going to type sudo cat paste. So now it's generated a password for you. Copy it, take it, and then go to your Jenkins. Here, continue. So install suggested plugins is advisable you do. So then, while this is also going on, we're going to look at other things that we can do. So right now, I believe you had set up your app password for Jenkins, which enable you to do an integration. And then the next thing we'd also want to do is, let's go to our GitHub profile, okay? We're going to generate a token. So in your GitHub profile, just click the icon and then scroll down all the way to settings and scroll down all the way to developer settings and then click on personal access token, fine-grained tokens. Then you click on generate new token. Okay, just give it a name. You can say GitHub to Jenkins. I'm just going to give it 7 days because I really do not need it for that long. I'll say all repositories and then generate token. Okay, so now just copy this also and paste somewhere in a notepad in your system because we're going to use it. So now we've taken a password for Gmail and we've taken a token for GitHub. So now this is still getting started, so we have to wait. I'm going to pause and come back when this is done. So the suggested plugins are done installing. So the next thing, let's sign in. So I'm just going to click on skip and continue as admin and save and finish. Start using Jenkins. All right, so now we are in Jenkins. The next thing we want to do is to change our password. So click on admin, click on configure, scroll all the way down. You see where there's password, Control A, delete, just give it a password. Okay, confirm. So save. It's going to make you to sign in again. So let's do that. Keep me signed in, sign in. All right, so now we are signed in. The next thing we want to do is to click on dashboard, go to manage Jenkins, all right? We want to now use those credentials that we created and populate them here in Jenkins. So we're going to start with the one we did for Gmail. So click on credentials like we did there, global, add credentials. So the username is basically my email address, happycloudsolutions@gmail.com. So the password now is going to be the one we just generated, okay? So I'm just going to get that as I copied and pasted it somewhere. All right. So paste, and I'm going to call this GitHub, no, this Gmail Jenkins. Okay, so create. The next one is GitHub, so add credentials. Because we use the token, it's going to be secret text. So the secret is basically what we generated from GitHub. So just go and copy that. I hope you still have it. If you've misplaced it at this moment, you can create another one with the same process. So put it here, and I'll say GitHub Jenkins. All right. So create. So now we've done that part. Let's go back to manage Jenkins. So all we're doing right now is basically just to do the setup, integrate it with the required, third-party app, which is Gmail and GitHub, and we'll then move into the actual, creation of the pipeline job. Okay, so after that, I'm going to click on plugins because I want to install certain plugins that's available. So just click on GitHub, scroll. I'll select GitHub integration. It's one that I want. Okay. There should be another, GitHub. Yep, this one. GitHub pipeline. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So the next is email. Okay. Scroll all the way up. So we're gonna install this email extension and we're good. So click on install, scroll. So we're gonna wait for this to be successful and continue. All right, it's successful. So let's go back to manage Jenkins. Then click on systems. All right. It's taking its time to load. Okay. Scroll down. What I'm looking for now is GitHub. So I'm going to click on add GitHub server. Click on this. I'm just going to name it GitHub. Credentials, GitHub Jenkins. As long as we've created the credentials in the previous step, it's going to show up here. Okay. So just click on test connection to make sure it works. So credentials verified for user Happy Cloud. So scroll down, we're going to do the one for email. Okay, so now the email, the SMTP server is going to be smtp.gmail.com. The port is going to be 465. Click on advanced. Credential is going to be the one that we created for Gmail. Click on use SSL. Then just leave it that way. Scroll down. We still have one more to do. All right, here. So do the same thing, smtp.gmail.com. Click on advanced. Click use SMTP authentication. So the username is basically going to be my email address. Sean's at gmail.com. Okay. The password is going to be the one that we generated. Use SSL. Port is 465. So now let's test this configuration to make sure everything is working all right. At gmail.com. So test configuration, while that is testing, I just want to cross-check all that I've done up here. Okay. Let's see. Everything looks good. Scroll back down. All right, so it said email was sent successfully, okay? So now we've done that. I'm just going to click save. The next thing we want to do is click on manage Jenkins, click on tools. We want to set up Git. So I'm just going to leave this as it is. This is good. If you're using a different path, it could be git.exe, but I'm using my path is Git, so I'm not going to put that. You can see there's no path like git.exe, so I'm just going to leave mine this way. Everything looks good. Scroll. Everything looks good. Save. All right. So we've come a long way now. We have basically done the setup to integrate GitHub with Jenkins and Gmail with Jenkins. So now one last thing that we're going to do is we're going to create something called webhook on GitHub, okay? And the purpose of that is basically so when I do a GitHub commit or a GitHub push, it's going to automatically trigger a build on Jenkins. So to do that, I'm just going to go to the repository that I'm going to be working on today, which is Jenkins tutorial. And then I'll click on settings. Okay. And then I'm going to look for webhooks. So this one I'm going to delete because I have destroyed this Jenkins server. So that's why it can't find it anymore. So let me delete this one. And then add webhook. So now for this webhook, you're going to take note of the URL. Okay, let's do it this way. Go click here, Jenkins. Okay, copy this and come here, delete this, paste. So I'm going to remove this. So it's going to be HTTP, your IP address, and then the column for 8080, that's for Jenkins. And then the next thing you want to do is type github-webhook and then /. So everything looks good. Send me everything, add webhook. Okay, so we're just going to wait here for this to turn to a green tick, showing that everything happened successfully. I'm just going to refresh. Great. So now we have configured the webhook. So the next thing we're going to do now is to create a job. Yay, finally. So let's do that. Hello, viewers. My name is Kachi. This is a short break just to urge and ask you to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. This channel is used to bring educative videos that are relevant in the information technology world. We bring videos on web development, cloud computing, DevOps, and even artificial intelligence, AI. But the videos are not just limited to that. We also provide videos as they are relevant to the community. We ask that you support us through your likes and subscription. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you as part of our subscribers. Now, let's get back to business. So I'm going to give it a name, Jenkins job and pipeline. Okay. So you can give it a description, my Jenkins job. Like I said, the build is going to be triggered by a GitHub push to the main branch. So I'll select GitHub hook trigger. So my pipeline script, either I write it here or I say pipeline script from SCM. So I'll click on that. Git is going to be the one of choice. So what's going to be the repository URL? Basically, the URL will be this one. So I want it to take this Jenkins file. This is where it's going to get the script from. So I'll just copy this URL, come back here, and paste that. You don't have to put anything here. Then here, change it from master to main, or depending on the branch you want. So this is going to be when it's pushed to the main branch. Okay, script path Jenkins file. So mine is Jenkins file. This is what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to save. Okay. So before we do anything further, let's go and see this Jenkins file. So I'm going to open this using GitHub Desktop. If you don't know what GitHub Desktop is, it's basically, a desktop version of GitHub. Obviously, as the name says, it enables you to utilize GitHub without using the command line. So it's just more of a GUI version. Okay. So this is what our Jenkins file looks like. So this Jenkins file, it's just comprised of stages, basically. So this part here is called environment variables. Why I'm using environment variables is because I don't want to have to start typing this every time I want to mention it here, like in the stages. So I just decided to create an environment variable, all right? So now I have various stages here. The first stage is build stage. And here I have, called this environment variable here build to, which is Maven. This is, like I said, this is not integrated with Maven at the moment. We are just trying to show you how to build, the pipeline and then integrate GitHub with Jenkins to do an automatic, build, and then how to send notifications. All right. So what I'm doing here in this second stage, which is the unit and integration test, is that, it's going to echo this. So that means it's going to be like a message that shows in the Jenkins build, and I'll show you that when we run it. Another thing that's going to happen is when there's a success, it's going to send me an email, and the email address it's sending it to is this one. And you see, I called it here, happycloudsolutions@gmail.com. So it's going to send an email saying test was successful. If it failed, it will say test failed. So this is where, if you want to copy this or use this for your email, this is where you copy the post path that says, send this message to this email. So the second stage is code analysis. The second one is security scan. Then I'm also saying that it should also send me an email depending on the outcome. And this is it here. Then we have the deploy to staging. So all these variables, you can see them up here. So the last one is deploy to production. And this is what it says, just echo deploy the application to a production server. Okay? So now what we are going to do first is to manually trigger the build. And this is because I want to show you the two different scenarios, okay? So I'm just going to go back to Jenkins, and I'm going to click on build now. All right, so this is me manually triggering it. The second one we're going to do is the automatic triggering, when I will just make a change to the Jenkins file and then do a push to GitHub. So right now it's, building, and let's wait for it to be done. while I'm waiting for it to be done, I'm going to open my Gmail because I'm expecting it to send me some emails about the build. So, right, so you can see it just sent me one at this time, which is 4:27 p.m. It's saying integration test status. So it's also attaching the logs for me, okay? So this is it, this is it, this is it. So let's come back here. So if I click on this one and I click on the logs, you can see run unit test using JUnit to ensure this message here is basically this message. See, unit and integration test. Let me scroll to it. This is literally the message here. So that's what this is all about. This was so it echoes a message. It says something about that particular, build. So let's go back and close this. So now we've seen how it's done manually. So now let's trigger this automatically. So I'll come back here and then I'll just make a change. Oh no, Control S. I'll do a commit. Test, commit. So I'll commit. And I'll just do the push from here. Push to origin. So this should be done. Let's go to GitHub to confirm that. Refresh. And you can see I just did one now. So let's go back to Jenkins. You can see it automatically triggered a build. I didn't have to come here and say build now. And that is because we have, during the configuration, we said the build trigger should be when there is a push to our main branch. So this is basically, how we've been able to, 1, install Jenkins on an AWS EC2 instance, 2, set up Jenkins on that AWS EC2 instance, integrate GitHub and Gmail with Jenkins, and then we also initiated a Jenkins build via a GitHub push to the main branch. And then I also showed you how to send email notifications for each of the build stages. So if I come here, you see these are the build stages, and then it sends me an email. So I hope you were able to follow with this tutorial. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to put it in the comment section. Thank you. Do you need assistance for any of your DevOps projects? Well, we are just a click away. You can reach out to us on our website. The link is provided below. Or call us on 03-7046-9734. Or send us an email at info@happycloudsolutions.com. Waiting to hear from you. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let us keep on doing what we're doing.